In the heart of an ancient forest, where the morning mist clings to the trees and the world feels untouched by time, a story unfolds that defies all expectations. The air is heavy with a quiet stillness, broken only by the distant call of a wolf echoing through the vast wilderness. For centuries, this forest has been a place of survival, a realm ruled by instinct and raw power. But today, it becomes the stage for an extraordinary encounter. As sunlight filters weakly through the dense canopy, casting dappled patterns on the forest floor, a sense of mystery hangs thick in the air. In this untamed expanse, where the line between predator and prey is sharply drawn, something remarkable is about to happen. What if, in the depths of this wild domain, a creature known for its ferocity became a protector? What if the forest, often feared for its dangers, revealed a story of compassion and connection that would send shivers down your spine? This is the tale of an unbreakable bond formed under the most unexpected circumstances, a moment where nature's raw instinct collides with a tender act of kindness. Stay with us, because what happens next will leave you speechless. The rain begins to fall steadily, soft drops tapping against the leaves of the forest and the windshield of a car making its way along a remote mountain road. The hum of the engine cuts through the quiet, accompanied by the rhythmic swish of the windshield wipers struggling to keep up with the downpour. Inside, the driver glances nervously at the road ahead, their knuckles tightening around the steering wheel. The road is slick and winding, the faint glow of the headlights barely penetrating the thick fog that clings to the landscape. As the car rounds a sharp curve, the driver suddenly gasps, spotting something, a fallen branch blocking part of the road. Instinct takes over as they jerk the wheel to avoid it, but the tires lose traction on the wet surface. The vehicle skids violently, spinning out of control. Time seems to slow as the car veers off the road, careening down a steep embankment and crashing into a massive tree with a deafening impact. The forest falls silent once more, save for the soft patter of rain. Steam rises from the crumpled hood of the car, which now sits at an unnatural angle against the base of the tree. Inside, the scene is one of chaos. Shattered glass, twisted metal, and a faint, muffled cry. The cry grows louder, a desperate, piercing wail that echoes through the stillness of the forest. It's a baby, strapped into a car seat in the back, somehow untouched by the devastation around them. Their cries fill the air, a tiny voice cutting through the vast wilderness, carrying a plea for help no one seems to be there to answer. But someone, or something, is listening. Not far from the wreckage, a pair of amber eyes glint in the shadows. A wolf, its fur sleek and dark, stands motionless, its ears pricked toward the sound. Slowly, it steps forward, sniffing the air, its breath visible in the cool, rain-soaked air. Another cry echoes, and the wolf tilts its head, almost as if contemplating what to do. Then, with cautious steps, it begins to move toward the wreckage, its massive paws silent against the wet forest floor. The wolf approaches the wreckage, its movements deliberate and cautious. Its amber eyes scan the scene, taking in the crumpled metal and the faint wisps of steam rising into the rain-soaked air. The baby's cries grow louder, sharper, echoing through the stillness of the forest. The wolf stops a few feet away, its nose twitching as it picks up the unfamiliar scent. For a moment, it stands there, staring, its powerful frame silhouetted against the misty backdrop of the trees. With careful steps, the wolf circles the wreckage, its ears flicking at every sound. It pauses at the car's open window, peering inside. The baby, strapped securely in its car seat, thrashes weakly, its tiny face red from crying. The wolf inches closer, its head tilting as if trying to understand the source of the noise. For a creature of instinct, this is uncharted territory. Yet something in the wolf's demeanor shifts. Its posture softens, and the primal tension in its body gives way to something almost curious. The wolf nudges the car with its nose, testing the strange object before stepping back. It hesitates, glancing toward the depths of the forest as if waiting for a sign. Then it moves again, this time more decisively. Its massive jaws carefully grip the edge of the car seat, lifting it with an unexpected gentleness. The baby's cries falter for a moment, replaced by soft whimpers as the wolf begins to move. Cradling the car seat securely in its jaws, the wolf turns away from the wreckage and heads toward the forest. The other wolves in the pack emerge from the shadows, their eyes fixed on the strange scene. They watch silently as the alpha, unchallenged, carries its delicate burden deeper into the wilderness. The cries fade into the distance, swallowed by the sounds of the forest, as the wolf disappears into the trees, taking with it the fragile human life it has chosen to protect. The wolf moves swiftly but carefully through the dense forest, the baby cradled securely in its jaws. Its powerful legs carry it over fallen branches, slippery rocks, and uneven terrain. Each step is deliberate, the wolf's instincts guiding it away from danger and toward safety. The rain begins to lighten, but the baby's faint cries echo in the still air, blending with the distant rustle of leaves and the occasional call of a bird. The wolf pauses briefly, setting the car seat down gently on a patch of moss. Its amber eyes scan the surroundings, ears twitching at every sound. Then, with a low huff, it picks up the baby once more and continues. As the forest deepens, the wolf's path becomes more treacherous. A shallow stream cuts through its route, the water rushing noisily over smooth stones. Without hesitation, the wolf wades into the cold water, its fur glistening as it splashes through. The baby's cries subside momentarily, replaced by soft whimpers, as if the gentle rhythm of the wolf's movements offers some comfort. Reaching the other side, the wolf shakes off the water and continues its journey. A sudden rustle in the underbrush stops the wolf in its tracks. Its ears perk up, and it growls low, warning whatever might be lurking nearby. From the shadows, a pair of glowing eyes emerge, a lynx, its sleek body tense as it watches the wolf. For a moment, the two predators lock eyes, neither moving. The wolf steps protectively in front of the baby, baring its teeth in a silent challenge. The lynx, sensing the wolf's dominance, retreats into the darkness, and the forest falls silent once more. The wolf presses on, its determination unwavering. As the trees begin to thin, a clearing comes into view. The ground is soft and covered in moss, the air warmer and calmer. This is where the wolf finally stops, setting the baby down in the center of the clearing. It circles the child, sniffing and nudging gently as if ensuring the baby is unharmed. The baby, no longer crying, looks up at the wolf with wide, tear-streaked eyes. For a brief moment, predator and prey share a silent understanding, a fragile connection formed in the heart of the wilderness. The wolf resumes its journey, carrying the baby through the heart of the forest. The towering trees stretch endlessly above, their canopies forming a protective arch against the fading rain. The world around them feels alive yet strangely serene, as though the forest itself is watching. With every step, the wolf moves deeper into its domain, navigating paths only it knows. The baby, nestled securely in the wolf's gentle grip, has stopped crying, now emitting soft, occasional coos. It's as if the rhythm of the wolf's strides and the surrounding wilderness have lulled the child into an uneasy calm. As they press on, the wolf comes across a fallen log blocking its path. It pauses briefly, assessing the obstacle before leaping gracefully over it, careful not to jostle the baby. The scene is almost surreal, a creature of raw power and instinct carrying a fragile human life with such deliberate care. Passing through a grove of wildflowers, the wolf slows its pace. The vibrant colors of the blossoms contrast with the muted tones of the forest, creating a fleeting moment of beauty in the midst of the ordeal. The journey is not without danger. At one point, the wolf senses movement nearby. Another predator, lurking just out of sight. A low growl rumbles in its chest as it scans the shadows. From behind a tree, the glint of sharp eyes emerges, but the wolf stands its ground, protective and unyielding. After a tense moment, the presence retreats, the forest returning to its quiet hum. The wolf huffs softly, as if reassured, and continues on its way. The baby, seemingly sensing the wolf's determination, remains unusually calm. The sound of a gentle stream comes into earshot, and the wolf approaches its banks. Setting the baby down momentarily on a soft patch of moss, the wolf laps at the cool water before turning its attention back to the child. It nudges the car seat carefully, as though ensuring the baby is still secure, before picking it up once more and crossing the stream. The water is shallow but icy, rushing over the wolf's legs as it forges ahead, its focus never wavering. The forest begins to change as they reach higher ground. The dense canopy thins, allowing shafts of golden sunlight to pierce through. The air feels lighter, and the distant sound of other wolves echoes faintly through the trees. The baby stirs, letting out a soft murmur, and the wolf glances down, its amber eyes momentarily softening. Together, they climb a gentle slope, the wolf's steps steady and purposeful. The baby, cradled in the jaws of the forest's apex predator, remains unharmed, a fragile life carried through the untamed wilderness with an unexpected tenderness. As the wolf reaches the den, the forest around it grows quieter, the towering trees giving way to a sheltered clearing nestled against the rocky base of a hill. The entrance to the den is partially hidden by underbrush, a dark and unassuming gap in the earth. The wolf stops just outside, lowering the car seat gently to the ground. It lets out a soft, almost imperceptible grunt, a signal to the pack inside. Moments later, a pair of glowing eyes emerge from the shadows, followed by another and another. The other wolves step cautiously into the light, their bodies tense with curiosity and uncertainty. The pack approaches slowly, their noses twitching as they pick up the unfamiliar scent. One of the smaller wolves takes a hesitant step closer, sniffing at the bundle cradled within the car seat. The baby stirs, letting out a tiny whimper, and the wolves retreat slightly, their instincts torn between curiosity and caution. The alpha wolf, standing firm, emits a low, calming growl, its posture commanding but unthreatening. The pack responds, their tension easing as they defer to their leader. A female wolf, larger and more confident than the others, moves forward. She approaches the baby carefully, her head low, ears pricked forward in interest. Her nose brushes against the child's tiny hand, and she lets out a soft, almost maternal whine. The baby, unfazed by the wolves' attention, lets out a small coo. The sound seems to surprise the pack, their heads tilting in unison as if trying to understand this strange, fragile creature. The female wolf lies down beside the baby, her warm body forming a protective barrier between the child and the rest of the den. She nuzzles the baby gently, her actions tender and deliberate. The pack watches in silence, their glowing eyes reflecting the faint light filtering into the den. One by one, they retreat into the shadows, leaving the alpha and the female to guard the baby. The scene is surreal. A human child, helpless and alone, now sheltered within the heart of a wolf pack. As the rain subsides outside, the alpha lies down near the entrance, its gaze fixed on the forest beyond, standing watch over its newest, most unlikely charge. The night passes quietly in the den, the only sounds being the occasional rustle of leaves outside and the soft breathing of the wolves as they rest. The baby, still nestled safely in the warmth of the female wolf's side, remains remarkably calm, its tiny chest rising and falling in a peaceful rhythm. The motherly wolf keeps a vigilant watch, her amber eyes flickering occasionally toward the entrance of the den. The bond between the two seems to grow stronger with every passing moment, the primal instincts of the wolf blending seamlessly with the child's innocent presence. As dawn breaks, the first light of the sun filters through the trees, casting soft beams across the den. The forest comes alive once more, birds beginning their songs, and the distant howls of the pack calling to each other. The baby stirs, waking with a faint whimper. The female wolf shifts slightly, nudging the child back into the warmth of her fur. There's something almost comforting in the gesture, as though the wolf understands the baby's needs in a way that transcends instinct. The pack remains nearby, but they keep their distance, understanding that the child is now under the protection of the alpha and the female. A low growl from the alpha reminds everyone of their roles in the pack, but the wolves seem content, aware of the strange new dynamic that has taken shape. As the day stretches on, the alpha wolf approaches, its large form filling the entrance of the den. It pauses for a moment, looking back at the baby with something akin to recognition, before turning its attention to the surrounding forest. In that moment, a subtle realization strikes. The pendant around the baby's neck, which had been hidden beneath the car seat straps, now catches the light. It's an old, worn piece of jewelry, a delicate symbol of a wolf carved into its surface. The camera zooms in on the pendant, the worn edges telling a story, a history that links the child to these creatures in ways no one could have anticipated. The connection between the wolf pack and the baby suddenly feels deeper, more mysterious. Was this child meant to be here? Was there a bond between the baby's family and the forest, one that has somehow survived the passage of time? The answer remains hidden, but the pendant offers a hint, an unspoken link between the wild and the human. The wolves, protective and steadfast, stand watch, knowing that their unusual charge may hold more significance than anyone could understand. As the camera lingers on the pendant, the forest seems to hold its breath, waiting for the next chapter in a story that has only just begun. As the days pass, the baby grows stronger, adapting to the rhythm of the forest. The wolves, who once watched from a distance, now act as a silent, protective presence around the child. The female wolf, who has become the baby's primary guardian, continues to nurture it with an almost maternal devotion. Her every movement is gentle, her attention unwavering. The pack has learned to accept the baby, no longer reacting with hesitation, but with a quiet understanding that this child is part of their world now. The baby, no longer a helpless infant, begins to explore the surroundings. Its tiny hands reach out toward the soft fur of the wolves, fingers brushing against their coats in curiosity. The wolves, particularly the smaller ones, watch in awe as the child's innocent movements seem to elicit a sense of tenderness from them. The pack, though fierce and wild by nature, now demonstrates a surprising gentleness around the baby. The bond that has formed between them is undeniable. One morning, as the baby sits in the clearing, its gaze follows a butterfly fluttering past. The female wolf lies nearby, watching with a protective yet serene expression. A sudden noise catches the pack's attention, and the wolves spring to attention, their instincts sharp. But the alpha wolf simply raises its head, nostrils flaring, and then relaxes, sensing nothing to be worried about. The threat, if there had been one, is gone. It's a rare moment of peace, a rare moment when the wolves are not just guardians, but a family. The sun moves higher in the sky, and the baby begins to babble, its tiny voice breaking the stillness of the forest. The sound seems to reach beyond the den, traveling through the trees, resonating with the quiet beauty of the wilderness. The wolves, ever watchful, listen to the soft, innocent noises with a reverence. The forest, too, seems to pause, its heartbeat in sync with the life that now flourishes within its depths. The baby's presence, once an anomaly in the wolf's world, has become an integral part of it, and, in the way that only nature can understand, the forest seems to have accepted the child as one of its own. The pendant, still hanging from the baby's neck, catches the light as it swings gently with every movement. It's as if the forest itself acknowledges the connection that has grown between the wild and the human, an unspoken bond that cannot be broken. And yet, as the days stretch on, there is a growing sense of anticipation in the air. The baby, now thriving under the care of the wolves, has not forgotten its origins. It is a creature of both worlds, the wild and the human. The question lingers. What will happen when the time comes for the child to leave the safety of the wolves and return to the world from which it came? The answer remains uncertain, but one thing is clear. The forest will always remember the child it protected. As weeks pass, the bond between the baby and the wolves strengthens, the forest becoming a home to the child in a way that no one could have anticipated. The baby, once fragile and vulnerable, now plays in the clearing with the wolves. Its laughter, soft, unsteady, but full of life, echoes through the trees, a sound that seems to bring the entire forest to life. The wolves, ever watchful, remain close, their instincts guiding them to protect their unusual charge. The pack has adapted, learning to accept the child's presence without hesitation. The smaller wolves often play near the baby, nuzzling it gently, while the alpha and the female remain vigilant, standing guard in the background. They have become more than just protectors. They have become family. The line between predator and prey, human and wolf, has blurred. But the forest is not without its dangers. One day, as the pack gathers near a stream, a sudden rustling in the bushes catches their attention. The wolves tense, their bodies coiling with tension as they prepare for a potential threat. From the shadows emerges a large predator, eyes gleaming in the fading light. It's a cougar, silent and deadly, its gaze fixed on the baby, who sits innocently on the ground, unaware of the danger. The pack reacts immediately. The alpha wolf steps forward, growling low and deep, the sound reverberating through the trees. The cougar pauses, its predatory instincts at war with the realization that the pack is stronger in numbers. The female wolf moves swiftly to stand beside the alpha, her growls joining his in a unified warning. The smaller wolves take positions, their eyes never leaving the cougar. The tension is palpable, the air thick with the possibility of violence. But the cougar, after a moment of hesitation, senses the strength of the pack and slowly retreats into the shadows, its predatory gaze still lingering for a moment before it disappears into the underbrush. The wolves, though still on high alert, begin to relax, their protective instincts satisfied for the moment. The baby, oblivious to the danger that had just passed, continues to play. It clutches at the soft grass, its small hands laughing as it tries to catch a butterfly. The wolves remain nearby, watching over their charge with an unwavering devotion. It's as if they understand the child's innocence, how the wild world can be both nurturing and dangerous, and their role as its guardian. As the day fades and the forest settles into dusk, the pack gathers near the den. The baby, tired from the excitement of the day, falls asleep peacefully in the female wolf's protective embrace. The alpha and the other wolves stand watch, their silhouettes framed against the darkening sky. The forest has become a place of both danger and safety, a world where the impossible has become reality. The bond between the baby and the wolves is unbreakable now, and as the stars emerge above, one thing is certain. The wild has claimed this child as its own, and in return, the child has claimed the wild as a part of its being. The wolves will always protect the baby, as it is now one of their own. As time continues to pass, the seasons change, and the baby grows stronger, its presence now deeply ingrained in the rhythm of the forest. The wolves have taken on the role of guardians with a quiet, unwavering devotion. The bond between the child and the pack has solidified to an almost unspoken understanding. The baby, once fragile and alone, now moves with increasing confidence, exploring the world around it with a curious sense of wonder. The wolves, always by its side, remain ever watchful, their primal instincts guiding them to protect what has become their charge. One crisp morning, the baby stumbles across the forest floor, its small legs unsteady but determined. The female wolf is immediately at its side, her body low and protective as she nudges the child back onto its feet. The alpha, watching from a distance, seems to nod in approval, its amber eyes reflecting the wisdom of the pack. The other wolves gather nearby, their attention focused on the child as if understanding the importance of this moment. The baby, now strong and capable, is becoming part of the wild in a way that can never be undone. But there's a growing unease in the air. The wolves sense a change, a shift that has nothing to do with the child or the pack itself, but rather something far greater. The distant howls of other predators are heard more frequently now, the wild world beginning to stir with an unfamiliar energy. The forest has always been a place of both beauty and danger, and the wolves, though formidable, know that they are not invincible. Something is coming, something that will test the pack's strength and resolve. One evening, as the baby rests by the edge of the den, a strange scent wafts through the air, a scent foreign to the wolves, one that does not belong in the forest. The pack stirs, uneasy. The alpha raises its head, sniffing the air, its eyes narrowing as it senses the presence of an outsider. The tension is palpable as the wolves prepare for what may be an encounter that will change everything. A loud crack of branches in the distance signals the approach of something large. The pack springs into action, moving swiftly to surround the baby, their growls low but steady. The female wolf nudges the child toward the back of the den, her movements swift but gentle. The alpha steps forward, its posture commanding and confident, ready to defend the pack and its newest member. The sound of heavy footsteps grows louder, and a shadow appears at the edge of the clearing. It's a rival pack, their eyes gleaming with an unfamiliar hunger. The tension between the two groups is palpable, the wild law of the forest hanging heavily in the air. The wolves of the pack stand firm, their bodies taut with readiness, prepared to fight for what they have come to protect. In that moment, it becomes clear that the forest is not a place for the faint of heart. The bond between the baby and the pack has been forged in the fires of survival and trust. But even that bond will be tested. The rival pack is a force to be reckoned with, and the battle for the baby's safety will be a test of strength, loyalty, and instinct. The forest watches in silence as the confrontation unfolds, the baby's life hanging in the balance, the wolves standing firm against a threat that could destroy everything they've fought for. The primal battle rages on, the world of the wild now more uncertain than ever.